Hey, so here's how you build a winning offer. You want to look at the 4 objection buckets, right? Time, money, effort, sacrifice. These are the 4 core things that stop people getting the outcome that they want. Now, you may ask, like, well, what about like ability to do the thing? Well, that comes down to the effort and the sacrifice in order to gain the skills to do the thing. So let's just break down each one of these, and then once you can solve each one of these, you'll have a home run offer, right? It will just pop, and it'll be like, wow, that's amazing. So time. If you look at time on here, what is the time objections? Well, time to implement first, right? So how long does that take? Time for the first win, time for the big payoff, time to get the results. So time to implement. Let's look at that one. Firstly, if it takes you like 10 days to make $1, then you might be like, oh, it's not worth it, right? That's just a traditional example. It's like, hey, what I want you to do, I want you to go through this program. It's going to take you 3.5 years. And then by the end of it, you'll make your first $1, right? Well, the time outcome, the time it takes doesn't match with what the outcome is. So when you're looking at what your overall outcome is, you need to balance that against the time, the money, the effort, and the sacrifice. So the time for the first win. What do we mean by that? Well, how long does it take before I get the first win, right? That might not be the overall arching like dream outcome of what you get from going through that course, program, training, whatever it is. However, you want to ask, how quickly can someone get that first win? So this isn't so much just about like creating the offer and putting the right copy on the page. This is about looking at the product and going, how can I get someone a result faster? So the time for the first win might be, example, in the first 24 hours, hey, you'll get people asking to work with you within 24 hours. Okay, that's pretty decent. But within 7 days, you'll have your first client. Great, right? You can work with those timelines. But if you said, hey, in your first 7 days, you're going to get your first client, that sounds pretty good. But within 24 hours, you're already going to start getting people asking to work with you. Okay, that's even better, right? Because you've just compressed that timeline down for the first win. Now, the big payoff might be, let's say you're selling a business where you teach people to make 10K a month online, right? So time for the big payoff. Well, let's say that takes 90 days. If you just focus on the big payoff and you say in 90 days you're going to be making 10K a month, then that's great. And that's not a bad timeline, right? To be making 10K a month. If someone has never made 10K a month in their life, maybe they make about 20K in a year right now. And then you say you can make 10K a month and you can have 6 figures a year. Great. 90 days is a very short period of time for that. So what you want to look at is like, what is the comparison between them getting that payoff elsewhere? And then you use that in the part of the offer and the copy to create contrast between their current reality and then their future reality. And then the time to get the result. So we've got the payoff, but we've also got the overall result. So they're going to get a big win. Sorry, they're going to get the first win. They're going to get the big win, right? But they're also going to get the overall result. So what's the time to completion, really, of like from start to finish? If you start this today, you're going to get the overall outcome at the end by when? And that's what you want to think about. And the shorter that time window is, the better it is going to be. Now, when we come to money, then we're looking at like, what is the money for the program, right? So compare that to what is the outcome of the program. So it's easy if it's money for money. Give me $1, I'll give you 10 back, right? Or give me $1, I'll give you 100 back. Even better. However, if you're in the relationship or the health niche, give me $1 and I will help you remove this health problem that you've got. Give me $1 and I'll help you make your relationship better. Right? Relationship better isn't good enough. It needs to be more tangible than that. Okay? But what they need to do is someone needs to be able to weigh up in the mind, what is the cost of inaction? What is the cost of not doing that? And then when the cost of the program is less than the cost of inaction, people will buy. Okay? Okay, so I've just put that on here, right? Cost of inaction. When the cost of inaction is greater than the cost of the solution, people will buy, right? Cost of inaction greater than the cost of solution, people will buy. So when we're looking at the money overall on here, the money for the program, money for the tools. So you've got to think about all the other things that they need to buy as well, because you're not just selling them on the cost of the program, you're also selling them on all the extra things that they need to buy at the same time. And then the money for the opportunity loss. So if I go and do this program, what can I then not do? Or what can I not buy? So maybe I was looking at buying a new car. Maybe I was looking at putting a deposit down on a house, right? Whatever that thing is, maybe I now can't do that if I do this. Maybe I was looking at and going a cruise in my retirement and using my pension money for that, but now you're asking me to use my pension money for something else, right? The money to run the implementation. So you're also selling on the fact that, hey, if you start doing this business has got running costs to it. So we're not just making you the money to pay for the program and get a return on that. We're making you the extra money on top to cover the cost of the implementation of that. So you don't want to bring these objections up in a way where it's like, hey, look at all these extra costs. However, you want to subconsciously handle these objections in your copy as you're going through building the offer and creating any marketing materials. Then we've got effort, right? Effort to get started, effort to keep going is a big one, right? So getting started is hard. Keeping going and keeping consistent is even harder. So if you've made it simpler for someone to keep going, then you're going to create a better offer. So like I'm going through a program at the moment where they've literally mapped out what you need to do every single day, right? Day by day, step by step. It's like, just do this today and then do that tomorrow and do that tomorrow and do that tomorrow, right? And we don't stop going through programs. It doesn't matter what level you're at. But one of the key things is when we're going through those programs, we want stuff that's tangible and can implement. Don't just go and stick a bunch of videos in a members area and call it a course. That's not a frigging course. That's just you dumping a load of videos in a members area, right? So each thing, focus on, instead of what's the videos, focus on what's the implementation and then record a video around the implementation. So flip that on its head, because then your videos become a lot shorter because it's just like, hey, do this thing. Okay, great. I've gone and done it. Right? Rather than all this hypothetical crap. It doesn't make sense. So effort of getting started, effort of keeping going, reduce that effort down and make it easier for people to think less. And then the effort of convincing others. Right? This is one that we don't think about that often, is like, how much effort does it take to convince your friends and convince your family, no, this is the right opportunity, trust me, right? So we've even before created a marketing asset where the mum can give a letter to the dad to explain why they want to do this opportunity, because we spent all this time marketing to the mum, right? But the dad isn't bought in. So then he goes, what, you want to go and spend $5,000 on that? Like, what is it? That sounds like a lot of money. Is it risky? Is it a scam? And then there's like all these objections that come up, rather than having that letter that they can give to them. And they're like, I just don't know the right words to say to him to explain why it's such a good opportunity. Great, we wrote it for you, right? So effort in convincing others, if you reduce that effort down, people are more likely to buy. Effort of completion. So great, I kept going, but how long is it going to take me to complete the thing? How much effort am I going to have to put in there, right? What am I going to sacrifice? And that brings us on to the next one. Sacrifice is stopping other things. So what am I giving up? What do I have to give up to do this? Do I have to give up time? Do I have to give up money? Do I have to give up status, right? A sacrifice of social status at that point. And this is a big one for a lot of people, is like, how will people look at me differently if I go and do this? Like, you know, you're working the corporate 9 to 5 in the office every day, and they say, oh, what are you doing this weekend? It's like, oh, I'm working on my business. Oh, your business. Yeah, your little hobby thing, right? There'll always be people like that. And even when you start being successful, the people that were under you in terms of success, they're the ones who always like call out things and are not supportive, because typically they're envious, right? I used to be a wedding singer for a living, and I had this guy drop this like really horrible message about my singing and I should never be a singer and I'm an absolute terrible singer and all that kind of stuff. I don't think he'd ever been to a show, right, for starters. And like the funny thing is that he put that on there, and then like all these people like started defending me, right? And I think really what it came down to was just jealousy, because he was like, well, and hey, I wasn't the greatest singer in the world. I was a good entertainer. I wasn't the greatest singer in the world, but he was like really like driving into me because he was probably jealous. So that sacrifice of social status, are you willing to put yourself on the line, right, when you go and buy that product? So how do we reduce the sacrifice of social status down? That's a question you want to ask yourself. And a lot of the ways sometimes to do that as well is showing, look, here's this new community. Here's these people who will help and support you through that journey. You're not sacrificing social status. You're actually gaining social status in a new group, in a better group. Sacrificing relationships. If your partner isn't like 100% on board, or you're sacrificing time with your kids in order to go and do this thing, that's a big sacrifice. So you want to look at like how you can reduce that sacrifice down. Sacrifice of time and money. And they're the two biggest assets we've got. We can always make more money. We can't make more time. We all have 24 hours in a day. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Oprah, they all have 24 hours in a day. They don't have a magic time machine. Not yet. It may do at some point. But right now, they don't have a magic time machine. So everyone's making a sacrifice of time and money when they buy your product. So think about how you can reduce that effort and sacrifice down as much as possible in order to create a winning offer. So what I would recommend, go through each one of these and score yourself out of 10 against every single one of these, right? There's 4, 8, 12, 16 on here. Score yourself against each one and go, how can I reduce the time to implement? How can I reduce the time for the first win, the time for the big payoff, the time to get the result? How can I maximize the monetary return or the value for money if you're in not a biz op space? How can I reduce the effort all the way down? How I can reduce the level of sacrifice? You do all those things, you're going to be in a great spot with the offer. So have a fantastic day and let me know how you get on.